feedback. You know what's wild? You can be the exact woman he can't stop thinking about. He craves your voice, your laugh, the way you look at him, and still he doesn't call. He doesn't text. Feedback. He doesn't reach out, and you sit there wondering, if he wants me so badly, why doesn't he just say something? Why doesn't he act on it? Here's the truth that's hard to swallow. Feedback. Wanting someone and having the emotional capacity to reach out to them are two very different things. Desire isn't enough. Craving you isn't enough. Feedback. Because what's happening inside him is a fight, a tug of war between his desire and his fear. And fear is loud. Fear is paralyzing. Feedback. He might be sitting at home replaying memories of the two of you, heart pounding, phone in hand, scrolling through old messages, about to type something out, and then nothing. Feedback. He puts the phone down. Why? Because the moment he gets close to reaching out, that fear creeps in. Fear of rejection, fear of vulnerability, fear of being too much or not enough. Feedback. There's this lie that gets told in a lot of dating, advising that if a guy wants you, he'll always show it, that if he doesn't contact you, it must mean he doesn't care. Feedback. But that's not always true. Sometimes the reason he doesn't reach out because he doesn't feel anything, it's because he's feeling too much and doesn't know what to do with it. Feedback. People have this idea that men are simple, but that's not real. Most men were never taught how to deal with the weight of their own emotions. So what do? They shut down. Feedback. They compartmentalize. They distance themselves from what they feel instead of diving into it. He could be desperate to talk to you, but the moment he feels even a little emotionally exposed, feedback. He retreats. He tells himself, what if she doesn't respond? If I look weak? What if I say something stupid and push her away even more? You see, desire is emotional, but taking action back, that requires courage. And courage only shows up when someone is willing to risk the outcome. Feedback. So when you're dealing with a man who hasn't developed that inner strength, who hasn't done the work to get clear on what he wants and face his own fears, you're going to see this patterning. Feedback, silence, distance, confusion. That silence you're hearing, that's the noise of fear winning. You can tell yourself, if he really missed me, he would have messaged me by now. Feedback. But what if he has typed out that message again and again and deleted it every single time? Feedback. What if he checks your stories just to feel a moment of connection but refuses to comment or DM because it exposes him? We model feedback. Craving you doesn't know how to give him the courage to face the discomfort of being emotionally seen. Feedback, because reaching out for him isn't just about sending a text, it's about vulnerability. And for a man who doesn't feel emotionally safe, secure, vulnerability feels like danger. Feedback. He might even convince himself that reaching out makes him weak, that you'll lose respect for him if he shows how much he cares. So instead, feedback. He does nothing and hopes you'll be the one to make it easy. This is how we end up in these lopsided emotional standoffs. Feedback, where two people are craving each other, but neither one is willing to make a move. And what's so frustrating is that the craving isn't fake. The emotions are real. Feedback. But if he hasn't learned how to navigate that internal conflict, if he doesn't have the tools or the emotional maturity to push past that fear, you'll always be left with silence. Feedback. Even when his heart is screaming for connection, and you'll think he doesn't care, when in reality, he cares more than he knows how to handle. But here's what's important to understand. Feedback. Just because someone craves you doesn't mean they're ready to show up for you. Craving doesn't equal action. Craving doesn't equal growth. Craving doesn't mean he's ready. Back the next time you wonder why he hasn't contacted you, remember, he might be craving you in silence, battling an invisible war inside, but that war is his to fight. Feedback. And if he can't find the strength to act on what feels, that's not your burden to carry. Let his silence speak louder than his craving. Feedback. You ever wonder why someone who seems so emotionally connected to you, who clearly has feelings, who seems to light up when they're around you, can just disappear, go radio silent, no explanation? Feedback. No closure. It feels personal, right? Like you did something wrong, like you weren't enough to keep them engaged. But what if I told you that his silence might not be about you at all? Feedback. What if silence is simply his way of coping? For some men, especially the ones who struggle with emotional expression, silence is not about rejection. It's about regulation. Feedback. It's how they manage emotions that feel too big to handle. The moment things get intense, the moment something triggers their fears, insecurities, or vulnerabilities, they shut down. Feedback. They retreat inward. They go into this emotional bunker where no one can reach them. And from the outside, it looks like coldness. It looks like indifference. But on the inside, feedback. There's a storm sea. A lot of men grow up without the language to explain what they're feeling, without the tools to sit with discomfort, talk about what's going on in their hearts. Feedback. So when things get real, when feelings deepen, when conflict is, or when an intimacy starts demanding more than just charm, they panic. And instead of communicating, feedback. Instead of leaning into the connection, they run from it quietly. And here's the tricky part. He might even know he's doing it. To him, feedback. Pulling back feels like just needing space or trying not to make things worse. He tells himself that staying silent is safer for him and for you. He might believe feedback. If I reach out right now, I'll only make it messier. I'll say something I regret. I'll look weak. It's better if I just stay quiet. But that silence doesn't just affect him. It hits you. Feedback. It leaves you in the dark, guessing, analyzing every little thing you said or did, wondering if you misread everything. You sit there asking yourself, how can someone go from being so present back, so connected, just nothing? Feedback. Because to you, silence feels final. It feels like rejection, but to him, it's just coping. Now, don't get me wrong. This doesn't excuse the behavior. I'm not saying silence is okay. Feedback. I'm saying it's what's happening underneath that silence that matters. Because if you don't understand it, you'll internalize it, you'll turn it into self-doubt. And that's the trap. Feedback. The truth is, he may still feel everything he felt when you were together. He may still care. He may still think about you every day. But if he hasn't learned to face discomfort, feedback, if he hasn't trained himself to express instead of escape, then the moment he feels emotionally overwhelmed, silence becomes his default setting. Feedback. You'll see it in men who ghost after things start getting serious. You'll see it in men who disappear when conflict arises, who go quiet instead of talking through something difficult. Feedback. It's not about the depth of their feelings. It's about their inability to manage those feelings in a mature, healthy way. He craves peace. He craves control. And silence gives him that illusion. Feedback. It lets him feel like he's back in control of something that felt too emotionally chaotic. And you know what makes it even harder? Sometimes after days or weeks of silence, he'll pop back up. Feedback. He'll send a casual message. He'll act like nothing happened, like the silence wasn't deafening, and you're left wondering, does he even realize how that felt for me? Chances are, no. Feedback. Or if he does, he doesn't know how to face the consequences again. Silence is how he avoids consequences. It's how he dodges emotional accountability. But here's the thing, feedback. You deserve more than someone who disappears when things get hard. You deserve someone who shows up even when it's uncomfortable. Feedback. Someone who can sit in that emotional space with you, not run from it. If his way of coping is to vanish, to retreat, feedback, to leave you confused and questioning everything, then no matter how much he craves you, no matter how intense the connection was, feedback. He's not emotionally equipped to sustain the kind of relationship you deserve. And that's not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of where he's at back. Some men go quiet not because they don't feel, but because they feel too much and haven't yet learned how to handle it. And until they do, feedback, their silence will always speak louder than their love. Let his silence tell you everything you need to know. Model feedback. Some reason he's not contacting you has nothing to do with a lack of desire. It's not that he's stopped thinking about you or that he's moved on. In fact, feedback, it can be the exact opposite. He may be checking your social media, rereading old messages, even dreaming about reconnecting, but still nothing, no message, no call, no effort. Feedback. And you're left wondering at what's stopping him. If he misses me so much, why won't he just reach out? This is where things get subtle. Feedback. Because what's really happening is that he's waiting. He wants you to reach out first. He wants the reassurance, the validation, the proof that he still matters to you. Feedback. And the more emotionally uncertain or insecure he feels, the more he'll retreat into that hope that you'll make the first move so he doesn't have to risk it. For some men, feedback, reaching out feels like giving away power. It feels like vulnerability in its most raw form. And when they don't feel confident where they stand with you, they hesitate. They think. Feedback. If she wanted to talk to me, she'd message me. If I reach out first, I'll look desperate. I'll lose my edge. So instead of acting on what they feel, they hold back. They sit in their silence. Feedback. A craving connection, but too scared to take the first step. He's hoping you'll throw him a rope. Just something small to show that the door's still open. A reaction to his story. Feedback. A casual, hey, I was just thinking about you, because deep down, he doesn't want to be ignored. He doesn't want to be the one hanging in suspense. Feedback, wondering if you'll reject him or leave him on red. So rather than face that fear, he chooses to wait you out. And sometimes this is driven by ego. Feedback, there are men who need to feel pursued, to feel valued. Want to know that they still have that effect on you, that you miss them, that you care enough to break the silence. Feedback, they see it as a win, as a sign they still have a hold on you. But in reality, it's not strength. It's fear wearing the mask of control. Other times it's not ego, it's genuine insecurity. Feedback. He might be terrified that too much time has passed, that he won't know what to say, that reaching out now will only make things worse. So he convinces himself that staying quiet is safer. Feedback. That it's better to leave things as they are than to risk rejection or awkwardness. But the whole time, he's hoping you'll be the one to blink first. So while you're sitting there thinking, feedback, yeah, he clearly doesn't care. He might be sitting there thinking, well, she's probably over me. She's probably already moved on. If she wanted me in her life. Feedback. I know it, and those people are stuck in this emotional standstill. Two people craving each other, but too afraid to go first. That's what makes this dynamic so frustrating. Feedback. Because you could be everything he wants. And he still won't reach out if he doesn't feel safe doing it. If he doesn't feel certain that you'll respond with warmth. Feedback. He'll choose silence over risk. He'll prioritize emotional self-protection over emotional honesty. Feedback. And he'll wait until either you make a move or he convinces himself it's too late. But here's what you have to remember. Feedback. Someone who needs you to approve your interests first before he's willing to show up isn't emotionally ready. He's not leading, he's testing. He's not expressing, he's hesitating. Feedback. And that's not what love looks like. That's not connection. That's fear disguised as strategy. A real connection isn't built on who reaches out first. It's built on openness, courage, feedback, and mutual investment. If someone truly values the relationship, they'll find the strength to be the one who reaches out, regardless of how scary that feels. Feedback. They won't let pride or insecurity dictate their actions. And if he's sitting back waiting on you to take the emotional risk, feedback. That tells you everything you need to know about where he is emotionally. Because love doesn't wait in silence. It steps forward, it initiates, it shows up back. So when you're tempted to break the silence just to make it easier for him, ask yourself, feedback. Do I want to be with someone who only shows up when I go first? Because if the roles were reversed, if you were the one scared, unsure, feedback, overthinking, wouldn't it mean the world to have someone meet you with certainty instead of hesitation? He might be craving you, missing you, wishing things could go back to what they were. Feedback. But if he's too afraid to act on it, too scared to risk his ego, too dependent on you reaching out first, then he's not meeting you at the level of emotional maturity you deserve. Back. If he's waiting on you to go first, let him keep waiting. Feedback. You might be sitting there thinking, if he really only missed me, wouldn't he have said something by now? It's easy to assume that silence means indifference. But sometimes feedback. Silence is actually a tactic, conscious or not. There are guys who believe that the more they pull away, the more you'll want them. That by keeping their distance, feedback, they'll somehow create this sense of mystery that keeps them in control of the emotional dynamic. And let me tell you, this idea is everywhere. Feedback. Some men genuinely think that not contacting you will increase their value in your eyes, that the more unavailable they are, the more desirable they'll become. It's this flawed logic that says feedback. If I give her too much of me, she'll lose interest. If I stay silent, she'll start thinking about me more. If I hold back feedback, she'll come chasing. But here's the problem with that thinking. When someone uses distance as a strategy, what they're really doing is playing games. Feedback. And those games don't come from strength. They come from insecurity, from a place of not feeling like they're enough as they are. So instead of being real, instead of being direct, feedback, they try to manipulate the rhythm of the connection. And it works for a little while. Because let's be honest, when someone suddenly goes cold or quiet, who does it make you think? Feedback. It does get under your skin. You start wondering why they disappeared. You feel that need to solve the puzzle. You crave the pleasure. You replay conversations, read into things, question yourself. Feedback. And while you're doing all of that, he feels powerful. He thinks, this is working. She's thinking about me. Feedback. I still have her attention. But what he doesn't realize is that power built on emotional distance is temporary. It doesn't create intimacy. It doesn't build trust back. It doesn't foster connection. All it does is keep things shallow, controlled, safe. Feedback. And that might feel good for a little while, especially for someone who's afraid of going deep. But eventually it breaks. Eventually that silence starts to feel manipulative. Feedback. You can't build something real by holding back on purpose. You can't get closeness by staying far away and hoping that your absence is loud enough to keep someone interested. And yet, feedback. That's exactly what some men try to do. Not because they don't care, but because think this is how they're supposed to act. Because somewhere along the line, feedback. They learn that detachment is attractive, that mystery is power. So he starts playing this role. He doesn't text, doesn't call. Feedback. Maybe he watches your stories or likes a post just to give you a little emotional breadcrumb, just enough to stay in your mind, but not enough to actually show up. And meanwhile, feedback. You're left in emotional limbo, trying to figure out what's going on. What he's trying to keep the upper hand. He wants to be the one who seems less invested, less affected. Feedback. He thinks that if he appears emotionally untouched, you'll be the one to crack. You'll reach out. You'll start wondering what you did wrong. And in that moment, he feels validated. Feedback. Not because he doesn't want you, but because he doesn't want to be the one who cares more. But here's the truth. This kind of emotional game is exhausting. For both people, feedback. Because connection isn't about who can be more distant. It's not about who can out-silence the other. That's not love. That's a power struggle. Feedback. And if he's the kind of person who pulls away out of fear, not out of confusion, feedback. But because he thinks it's smart, because he believes it makes him more desirable. That's someone who hasn't learned how to build something meaningful. He may crave you. Feedback. He may lie awake thinking about you. But he's trying to control that craving instead of following it with honesty. He's using silence as a way to manage his emotions. And you're feedback. And that's not romantic. That's strategic. And strategies don't build real relationships. So when you feel tempted to chase feedback, when your mind starts spinning with all the possible reasons for his silence, stop and ask yourself, am I responding to emotional honesty, feedback, or am I reacting to emotional manipulation? Because if someone is trying to get to move by standing still, feedback. If they're waiting for you to reach out just so they don't have to risk anything, they're not showing up. They're hiding. And no matter how much he craves you behind that silence, feedback, no matter how much he convinces himself that keeping his distance makes him more desirable, the reality is love can't grow in emotional games. It grows in presence, in risk, in truth. Back. If he's using distance to make himself feel powerful, let him feel powerful alone. Feedback. There's something nobody really talks about when it comes to why a guy can go completely silent, even when he clearly felt something deep with you, real, something alive. It's this feedback. Some men go quiet because they already know they can't give you what you want. He knows what kind of woman you are. He sees your strength, your softness, your standards, your presence. Feedback. He might admire it. He might even crave, but deep down, there's a quiet voice in his head telling him he's not enough for it, that he's not ready, that if he lets this go further, feedback, he'll disappoint you or worse, hurt you. So instead of stepping up, he retreats. Instead of communicating honestly, he disappears. Feedback. Because confronting the gap between who he is right now and what knows you're looking for, that's too much. That gap becomes a mirror and he can't face his reflection in it. Feedback. You might not believe that at first because you're thinking if he really respected me, he'd say something, he'd be honest, he wouldn't just leave me hanging you, and you'd be right. Feedback. But what we're dealing with here isn't a lack of respect for you. It's a lack of belief in himself. He knows you're not looking for a part-time connection. Feedback. You're not looking for breadcrumbs. You're not looking to play therapist, to fix him, to wait around while he figures himself out. And instead of telling you, feedback, I'm not in the right place to do this with you, disappears into silence because silence is easier than confession, easier than accountability. Model feedback. And here's the kicker. It's not that he doesn't want love. It's that he doesn't trust self to sustain it. He doesn't trust that he can give what it takes, consistency. Feedback. Emotional presence, honesty when things get hard. He knows that you're the kind of woman who expects follow through, not just flirtation. Depth, not just charm. Back. And if he's not in a place where he can deliver that, the pressure of being with you starts to feel overwhelming. So he lets the moment pass. He tells himself stories. He says feedback. She deserves better. I'm doing her a favor. I'm giving her space. But the truth is he's avoiding the discomfort of admitting that he's not ready for someone like you. Feedback. And that's the painful part because it can feel like rejection. It can feel like you weren't enough. Like if you had just done something differently, said the right thing, played it cooler, feedback, been more available or less available or more whatever, maybe he would have stayed. But that's the trap. That's the illusion. Feedback. Because his silence isn't a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of where he's at, not you. He might crave you. He might relive the moments with you in his head. Feedback. But if he doesn't feel strong enough to meet you fully, that craving won't translate into action. Wanting you and he showing up for you are two very different things. One happens in his head, feedback. The other takes courage. And courage what's missing when a man goes not out of malice, but out of avoidance. Feedback. Out of fear that being in your life means stepping up in ways he hasn't practiced, showing up consistently, being emotionally available, dealing with conflict instead of running from it. Feedback. He knows that being with you would require him to stretch, to grow, to confront parts of himself that he's been avoiding for years. That's not a casual ask, that's real work. Feedback. So when he disappears, it's not always about rejection. It's about escape. Escape from the pressure to become more than he's ready to be. Escape from the fear of disappointing you. Feedback. Escape from being exposed. Because when you date someone who's emotionally intelligent, who has boundaries, who knows her value, it forces him to either rise to the occasion or retreat. Feedback. And if he retreats, it's because somewhere inside he knows he's not there yet. And that's okay. It's not your job to get him there. Back. It's not your responsibility to wait until he figures it out. Because love isn't about seeing one's potential and holding space for them to catch up. Feedback. Love is about meeting each other where you are. Fully, honestly, willingly. You deserve someone who doesn't hesitate to show up. Feedback. Who doesn't go quiet because you intimidate them with your standards? Someone who doesn't disappear the moment things get real. Someone who looks at the kind of woman you are and says, feedback. I want to rise to meet that, not run from it. He might crave you. He might even love what you represent. But if he can't meet your level, then silence is all he has to offer. Feedback. And that silence says more than any words ever could. Feedback. Here's a truth that stings when you first hear it. Sometimes the reason he's not contacting you is because he's already getting just enough of you without having to do anything. Feedback. You haven't spoken in a while. He hasn't made an effort. No call, no text, no real reach out. But somehow he still feels connected to you. Why? Feedback. Because you're still showing up in subtle ways. Maybe you're still watching his stories, liking his posts, dropping the occasional, hope you're good. Text feedback, replying to his vague DMs when he resurfaces every couple of weeks. Maybe you haven't fully let go of the thread between you. And even if your intention is just stay friendly or polite, feedback, what he feels is she's still there. I still have access. I'm still in her orbit. That energy, your energy is feeding him, quietly, invisibly, but powerfully. If we model feedback, you're keeping the connection alive for him without realizing it. And because he's getting that emotional drip feed of attention, he has no reason to truly step up back. He doesn't feel your absence because he's still receiving your presence, just enough to keep him comfortable, but not enough to actually move the relationship forward. Feedback. This is what I call the just enough zone. He's getting air just enough to sound the part of him that misses you. Feedback. Without having to deal with the part of himself that needs to grow up and actually reach out. It's like being thirsty, and instead of walking to the well, he survives on drops of rainwater. Feedback. And as long as those drops keep coming, he tells himself he's fine. But here's where it gets even more frustrating. He might even start to believe that he's doing you a favor by staying away. Feedback. That by staying silent, he's creating space or giving you time. Meanwhile, he's still watching, still checking, still hoping you'll post something that makes him feel close to you again. Feedback. He's still emotionally engaged, but he's doing it passively from a distance because he's getting the benefit of your emotional presence, without the cost of showing up. Feedback. And the moment you stop feeding that, when you stop engaging, stop responding, stop giving your energy away to someone who isn't matching it, that's when the discomfort hits him. Feedback. That's when the silence starts to feel like actual silence, not a lull between breadcrumbs. That's when he realizes he's no longer on your mind in the same way. Feedback. And for someone who's been relying on your energy to keep his emotional connection afloat, that shift is jarring. Now, let's be clear, this isn't about punishing anyone. Feedback. It's not about playing hard to get or cutting people off cold just to prove a point. This is about being honest with yourself about where you're investing your energy. Feedback. And whether that investment is being reciprocated. Because if you're still emotionally feeding someone who's not showing up for you, feedback, then you're blocking the space that would be filled by someone who would. The truth is, some people make a move until they feel the loss, until the thread gets cut. Feedback. Until your energy isn't there to fill the silence anymore. Only then do they start asking themselves, oh wait, feedback. Did I lose her? Not because they suddenly woke up and realized how deeply they love you, because they lost their safety net. They lost their comfort. They lost access. Feedback. And when someone only starts caring after they lose the privilege of your energy, that tells you something. It tells you they weren't valuing you. They were consuming you. Back. They were leaning on your presence without doing the work to truly earn it. Sometimes when a guy doesn't contact you, it's not about fear. It's not about being emotionally unavailable. Feedback. It's not even about playing games. It's about convenience. Because as long as you're emotionally present, even subtly, he feels no urgency to act. That's why silence, real silence, feedback is powerful. Not the kind of silence that's seething with hope or waiting for him to miss you, but the kind that's rooted in your own self-worth. The kind that says, if you want access to me, feedback. You have to earn it. You have to show up, not because you're punishing him, because you're protecting your peace. You're not here to be someone's emotional backup generator. Feedback. You're not here to keep someone warm while they stay cold. If he's getting just enough of you to feel comfortable without ever having to step up, then your presence has become a cushion. Feedback, not a catalyst. And no man changes while he's comfortable. He may crave your absence like a sudden drop in temperature. But if your energy is always available to him on standby, feedback, he'll never truly feel the need that you rise to meet it. Sometimes the greatest act of self-respect is silence, not to provoke a reaction, feedback, but to create space for someone to finally show you who they are without the safety net of your constant availability. If he's getting just enough of you without giving anything in return, back, it's time to give him nothing at all.